How did you two come about working together? What
Great
brought you
question.
together?
Punisher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Timmy. Well, it was actually the Tim's covers for the comic that Marvel sent me after I'd turned down the role a couple of times. I said it's just the superhero thing. I'm just not. I mean, it's fun for some people, but I wasn't a fan. But then they sent me the Bradstreet covers to the book, and they had such a gritty, realistic feel to them. And I said, well, if we could do something like that, that would be terrific. And then from my end, I asked them if they would want to do a special poster just for Comic-Con by Tim as me as the Punisher, which they agreed to. And so we set up a little photo shoot in Santa Monica. I guess they brought you up from San Diego, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you still living down there?
Yeah.
And we got together at a little photo shoot house in Santa Monica, and that's when Tim and I first met, and we just hit it off instantly and just became really good friends.
Yeah, it's funny too because when I first found out there was going to be a Punisher movie, I wanted to be a part of it. And I knew that Gail Ann Hurd was producing it, and I'm a longtime fan of Gail's work, and I was like, how do I get involved with this? So I got a hold of the only person that I thought might get me in touch with Gail Ann Hurd, which was Frank Darabont. And Darabont said, I'll do you one better. I'll introduce you to her husband. Her and Jonathan Hensley, who's directing the movie, by the way, are dear friends of mine. So he called Jonathan Hensley, and John called me, and we talked about doing all kinds of stuff, me doing all kinds of stuff on the film, conceptually, and like just being a big part of it. And when it came time, and I gave him the idea for the whole teaser trailer, and when it came time to do the movie, Jonathan said, I can't hire you. And I said, why? And he said, well, Marvel says they own all these covers. What do we need you for? And I said, oh, well, how disappointing. And so I called Ari Arad, one of the producers, and I said, designing the Punisher is the last thing I was going to do on that movie. That's done. It was a lot of other things I said, but I said, what you should think about is, at the very least, is I would love to do a teaser poster for the film, like I do the covers, but with Thomas Jane instead of my Punisher model. And so that was going on while Tom was advocating for me, which is just strange. And Ari said something like, well, yeah, we'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Tim. And I didn't know Ari at the time, necessarily. And so I think a month or two went by, and then he emailed me out of the blue, and he goes, I got a terrific idea. We'd love for you to do posters for the... And,
Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they were also doing posters for the movie, and they were just terrible. And when we went through them, everybody just rejected these realistic posters of me and John Travolta.
Photoshop heads,
But then Tim had done some work too, and Tim's Tim's poster work ended up being the poster for the film itself.
Yeah, they took, well, yeah, we ended up doing 5 teaser posters and doing some big release at Comic-Con, and then they hired me to do the theatricals.
So then when I was doing press in San Diego, I got together with Tim, and I pitched him this idea I had for a comic, and that turned out to be Bad Planet. Tim hooked me up with Steve Niles, who taught me how to write for comics, and we formed a company together, me and Tim and Steve, called Raw Studios. And we're still at it today. We just put out a book called Dark Country, which we brought some copies here, and that was a graphic novel adaptation of the movie that we did. And Thomas Ott, who I've always been a big fan of, I got in touch with him, and I actually was in Paris, and we went out to dinner, and I pitched him this idea, and Thomas agreed to do the graphic novel. And then we're also working on a werewolf book with another native son, Sean O'Connor, who's from London, and we've just kind of kept at it, doing our boutique comic book stuff and having a lot of fun. Very low output but high quality.
Yeah, it's more of a boutique kind of like you know, we're not in it to put out like a line of comic books. We're in it to develop and nurture our own kind of projects, and we're, you know, it's interesting that Tom was not interested in doing a superhero when they offered him the Punisher, because he's a lifelong comic collector. More while I think your proclivity was more for the undergrounds and you know, the old EC comic books and things of that nature. So I guess on that level, I can see why superheroes weren't something that was jumping out at you.
Yeah, I just personally never really got into it.
Couldn't see yourself walking around in a spandex costume, yeah.
It's too bad. I could have been a lot richer. I did.
When you're writing, are you influenced by the style of how Tim draws, or are you influenced when you draw how the writing is approached? How does this work together? Do you write a piece at a time and then draw, or how does this method go into this, creating the whole comic?
We have a
or novel?
simpatico, you know, Tom and I do, and I don't know whether it's we're near the same age and from the same part of the country, and we grew up with the same stuff. But I mean, he turns me on to stuff that I was never into. But I don't know if that goes both ways. But you know, Tom is. I always say that Tom's kind of my muse in a way, like with covers, because he's such a chameleon as an actor. You know, he's done a post for Nick Fury for me. He's been El Borak, Robert E. Howard's El Borak. He's Cal McDonald, and you know, and I'll. Because I shoot a lot of photos of him here and there, or on movie projects, I end up, you know, using that stuff, you know, in my own work. And so he's kind of my De Niro if I was Scorsese, you know. But I think he trusts my sensibilities too, you know. You know, with Raw Studios, I do all the ad design, all the, you know, all the art direction and stuff like that, and he does as well.
He lays out the books and does all the art direction inside all the books, and you know.
Well, he does a lot of it too. I mean, he's very hands-on with the artists. He's an artist too, you know, and he's a creator, and part of that creation is working on all those levels in the development of something. And
I'm an artist who can't draw.
he designed our bed.